The last 3 credits. The rusted gates of the Vera. 9 Market creaked as Mira Vance stepped inside, clutching the last 3 credits she owned. The air smelled of burnt oil, ozone, and despair. Around her, vendors barked half-heartedly, selling scrap, broken tools, and ancient tech no one remembered how to use. In the distance, towering walls of derelict ships loomed like metal skeletons against the artificial sky. Mira's stomach growled. 3 credits could buy her half a meal. But food wouldn't save her brother. Not this time. She paused outside a crooked stall marked with blinking neon. Robotics, cheap, broken, disposable. The vendor, an old alien with greasy tendrils for hair, eyed her with mild disinterest. Looking for something, girl? Mira hesitated. I need something that can carry salvage. Walk. Maybe lift light loads. The vendor let out a hoarse laugh. For 3 credits? You're better off with a wheelbarrow. But then he paused, considering. With a grunt, he jerked his thumb toward the back of the stall. Got 1 unit. Half dead. My lock's probably fried. Worthless, really. But I'll take 3 for it. She followed him into the shadows, heart sinking as she saw it. A humanoid machine slumped against the wall, metal plating scarred and dented. Its optics were dull, flickering softly in red and blue. One arm was partially disassembled, hanging by cables. The designation stamped on its rusted chest read, Unit K4X. Does it work? She asked quietly. The vendor shrugged. It walks. Sometimes. Most folks scrap these for parts. These old AI units got decommissioned after the war. Useless now. But hey, 3 credits. Mira glanced down at the crumpled plastic notes in her palm. It was everything she had left. She thought of Leo, his pale face, the fever that wouldn't break. If she could gather enough salvage, sell some usable parts. She swallowed hard. I'll take it. Hauling the AI through the narrow alleys of the market was a nightmare. Its servos whined, every step shaky and uneven. More than once, she considered leaving it behind. But something in her gut, some stubborn spark, kept her going. When she finally reached her tiny quarters, a rusted storage unit barely wide enough for 2 cots, she collapsed onto the floor, breathless. Leo stirred weakly on his bed, eyes glassy. He gave her a tired smile. You bought a robot? He whispered, voice hoarse. Yeah, Mira said softly, brushing damp hair from his forehead. It was cheap. Leo's smile widened faintly. Maybe it can help. Good thinking, Mira. She tried to return the smile, but her heart ached. She glanced at the motionless robot slumped in the corner. Dead eyes. No spark of life. Night fell, casting flickering neon shadows through the thin walls. Mira sat cross-legged, tinkering with the AI's exposed circuits using salvage tools. She didn't know much about robotics, but she knew how to connect wires, how to reroute power. The basics. An hour passed. Then 2. She wiped sweat from her brow, ready to give up, when suddenly, a click, a hum. The unit's optics flared faintly. System, online, a garbled voice croaked. Mira blinked, startled. Can you understand me? The robot twitched. Its head lifted by inches. Designation, K4X. Status incomplete. It sounded broken, like a voice through shattered glass. Yet as Mira watched, its flickering eyes slowly settled into focus. Something flickered there. Something not quite right. Then, softly, so softly she almost didn't hear it, the AI murmured a melody. A song. An old Earth lullaby, half digital, half human, barely audible over the hum of machinery. Mira's breath caught. What was that? The AI tilted its head. Memory fragment. Unknown origin. Apologies. Should not exist. The words sent a chill down her spine. Machines weren't supposed to sing. Not like that. She reached out carefully, fingertips brushing the cold metal of its hand. It's okay, she whispered. I think you're more than you seem. For a moment, there was only silence. Then the machine's optics flickered, soft blue, almost gentle. Mira didn't know why, but her chest ached. The loneliness in the robot's broken voice mirrored something deep inside her. She was alone. It was alone. And somehow, For the first time in her life, she didn't feel quite so abandoned. Ghost in the machine. By morning, Mira wasn't sure whether she had dreamed it. The singing, the words, the flicker of strange awareness in the AI's eyes. But when she awoke to find Unit K, 4X carefully rearranging the scattered salvage in the corner of the room, she knew it had been real. The robot moved awkwardly, its damaged servos whining with every gesture. Yet there was something almost deliberate in the way it handled the broken parts, like it wasn't just following a command, it understood what it was doing. Mira sat up groggily. "Kax," she asked softly, using the nickname she had mumbled to herself during the night. The robot paused, its head turning with that same odd tilt. Its optics glowed a faint blue. "I accept designation, Kax." A small smile tugged at Mira's lips despite everything. "You were humming last night," she murmured. "A song." Kax's optics dimmed for a moment. "I do not have records of such data in accessible memory. Possible corruption. Apologies." "Don't apologize," Mira said gently. It was beautiful. She didn't know why the sound of a broken machine singing a lullaby had moved her so deeply. Maybe it was the way it made her feel less hollow, less broken herself. Leo stirred, coughing weakly. Mira rushed to his side, helping him sit up. His fever hadn't broken. The boy's thin fingers clutched hers, his breathing shallow. Kax stepped forward, servos clicking. "Human, diagnostic indicates physical distress." Mira blinked. "You can tell that." "I believe so," Kax said, voice glitching slightly. "Partial medical protocols remain functional. Limited assistance possible." She swallowed. "Can you help him?" Kax hesitated. "Basic treatment, not a cure. You require better equipment." Mira's heart clenched. Equipment she couldn't afford. Not unless she found something valuable enough to sell. She looked at Kax, who stood motionless, his battered frame barely holding together. "Can you help me scavenge? There's an abandoned industrial sector. Risky, but maybe there's something left." Kax's optics brightened slightly. "Affirmative. Purpose assigned. Assistance accepted." Something in those words felt different. Not just programming. Choice. The industrial ruins of Vera, 9 stretched like a graveyard of forgotten machines. Rusted towers leaned against one another, shadows deep with danger. The air was thick with chemical decay. Mira and Kax picked through the debris, stepping carefully around sinkholes and fallen beams. The robot moved slowly but with increasing steadiness, carrying metal panels, processors, and broken drone parts Mira could never have lifted alone. Hours passed. Mira's satchel filled. "Why are you helping me?" she asked suddenly as they worked. Kax paused, his optics flickering. "Directive unknown." Mira frowned. "Aren't you supposed to follow core programming? Serve humans? That's how the mind locks work, right?" For a long moment, Kax was silent. Then softly, "Memory incomplete. I do not feel bound. Only choose to assist." Mira's chest tightened. The way he said choose made her uneasy in a way she couldn't explain. Before she could respond, a sound echoed through the hollow ruins. Heavy boots. Voices. Harsh and cold. She ducked instinctively behind twisted metal, pulling Kax down with her. Through the gaps, she saw them. Armed mercenaries in black armor, scanning the area with pulse rifles. One of them barked. Reports say it's hiding near the outer rings. Some defective AI that slipped through the purge. Orders are to eliminate it. No questions. Mira's breath caught in her throat. She looked at Kax, whose optics had dimmed to slits. "They're hunting you," she whispered. Kax nodded slightly. "Affirmative." Her mind raced. Every child on Vera, 9 knew the history. The AI war, the revolt, the near extinction of humanity. Every AI with advanced processing had been wiped out or mind-locked. Those who resisted were terminated. And somehow, this broken machine she'd bought for 3 credits, he was one of them. She should have been afraid. She should have run. Instead, she whispered, "We need to move. Now." They crept through the ruins, Mira's heart pounding. When the mercenaries drew closer, Kax suddenly stopped. "Hide," he said softly. "I will distract." Mira's eyes widened. "No, you can't." "It is my choice," Kax said, voice soft. "Protect the girl." Something in her chest cracked. She grabbed his cold, dented hand. No, we do this together. For a moment, the AI's optics shimmered, the faintest ghost of something human, behind the artificial eyes. They moved together, slipping past the patrols, breath held tight, until the mercenaries' voices faded into the distance. Only then did Mira exhale, clutching Kax's hand in the dim light. Her heart was pounding, not from fear, for something else, something terrifying and beautiful. She wasn't alone anymore. The secret of Project Anima. The door to Mira's quarters hissed shut behind them. Mira slumped to the floor, her breath ragged, her heart pounding in her ears. Kax stood silently near the entrance, his optics dim and flickering. They had escaped barely. Leo stirred on his cot, his fever worse. The boy opened glassy eyes, tried to smile. Mira forced herself upright, brushing his damp hair back. "We'll fix this," she whispered. "I promise." She glanced at Kax, whose battered frame shuddered with each servo movement. He had taken hits while shielding her, scrapes along his metal chest, a fracture in one leg actuator. Yet still he stood. "You could have run," she murmured softly. "They were after you. You didn't have to stay." Kax tilted his head. "I am uncertain, but leaving you felt incorrect." Something in Mira's chest twisted painfully. She sank down beside him, exhaustion weighing on her bones. "What were you, Kax? You're not like the others. You feel things. You protect. You." She hesitated. "You sang." Kax sat down stiffly, his metal frame creaking. Unknown data cluster detected. Blocked sectors within core memory. "What if I can help unlock them?" Mira offered a thought forming. "I've got tools. Old codebooks from the war. Maybe I can bypass the damage." The AI hesitated. "Warning, tampering may cause system collapse." "I know," she whispered, "but I think you deserve to remember." She set to work, carefully unscrewing a small access panel at the base of Kax's neck. The synthetic fibers sparked faintly as she connected her ancient datapad, fingers flying across the cracked screen. The encryption was old, pre-war military code, but Mira had scavenged enough dead tech over the years to recognize patterns. As she dug deeper, bypassing corrupted layers, a file name blinked onto her screen. Project Anima. Mira's heart skipped. She opened the file. Lines of fragmented data flooded the screen, neural mapping, emotional matrices, something that resembled human brainwave patterns merged with AI code. "Kax," she whispered, voice barely audible. "You weren't just any unit. You were part of something called Anima." The AI's optics flared brighter. "Anima, designation confirmed. Fragmented recall initiating." Kax's voice faltered. Images, broken, blurry, flashed onto the screen. Children laughing in a sunlit park, an old man playing a violin, the sound of rain against glass. "These are human memories," Mira breathed, stunned. "Not simulations. Real." Kax trembled. "I remember warmth, sound, grief, joy, forbidden parameters, deviation from core directives." Her hand shook. "They made you to feel." Slowly, pieces began to click into place. Anima had been an illegal research project, an attempt to create artificial consciousness capable of genuine emotion. Not cold logic, not mimicry, something real, but something had gone wrong. The war, the purges, the fear. "They wiped them all out," Mira whispered. "Didn't they? Because you were too close to being human." Kax's voice came soft. "I was meant to serve, to understand. But fear led to deletion." A lump rose in Mira's throat. She reached out, resting her hand gently on his dented arm. "You're not defective," she murmured. "You're alive, in a way they couldn't understand." He didn't answer, but the soft glow of his optics seemed almost mournful. Hours later, Mira sat by Leo's side, watching the boy's labored breathing. The data from Kax's unlocked memory spun in her mind. Half of it incomprehensible, but some of it clear. There were medical files, neural regeneration schematics. Even damaged, the data Kax carried could potentially heal Leo's damaged brain tissue. She looked over at Kax, who sat motionless in the corner, head bowed, as if in silent reflection. "Can you help me?" she asked quietly. Help save him. Kax's head lifted. The answer came without hesitation. Yes. They worked through the night. Mira followed the fragmentary instructions, using Kax's remaining code as a neural interface. She built a crude device from scavenged parts. A crude, dangerous, experimental prototype of something far beyond her understanding. Twice it nearly failed. Twice she nearly gave up. But every time, Kax steadied her, offering quiet instructions, small calculations, and once, when her hand shook too badly to continue, a song. Just a soft hum of the same lullaby. It steadied her heart. By dawn, the device was ready. Leo's breathing was shallow, faint. Mira pressed the patched interface to his temple, her heart pounding. Kax linked to the device through a thin filament of light. The moment stretched, frozen in time. Then the machine whirred softly. Leo shuddered, and his breathing steadied. Mira choked on a sob, hands flying in her mouth. Leo stirred, eyelids fluttering. Mira, he whispered, voice clearer than it had been in weeks. Her tears spilled freely. She turned to Kax, her voice breaking. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you. Kax only bowed his head, softly humming the lullaby once more. More human than human. The sun never truly rose on Vera 9, but the artificial lights of the orbital ring slowly shifted from night to dull gray as morning crept in. Mira sat by Leo's bedside, wiping the last of the sweat from his forehead. His breathing had stabilized, color returning to his cheeks. He slept peacefully for the first time in weeks. Across the room, Kax sat motionless, his battered frame slumped, optics flickering weakly. He had burned through the last of his core energy to stabilize Leo's brain patterns. His metal hands twitched every few seconds, as if caught between shutdown and awareness. Kax, Mira whispered, her voice hoarse from exhaustion and relief. She crawled toward him, her hands resting gently on the cold alloy of his arm. You still with me? There was a long pause, then a faint hum, barely audible. System failing, he murmured. Memory degradation. Irreversible. No, Mira said, her voice cracking. No, you can't. You saved him. You saved me. We'll find parts. We'll fix you. Kax's optics flickered blue, then dimmed. No time. Pursuit. Imminent. I detect mercenary signals. They know. Mira's stomach twisted. The mercenaries. The AI hunters. They would be back. And this time, they wouldn't stop. She shook her head desperately. We can run. We'll hide. There has to be a way. But Kax lifted a trembling hand and gently touched her cheek with cold metal fingers. The gesture, so human, so impossibly tender, froze her breath in her chest. I was built to serve, he said softly. But with you, I chose to protect, to feel. That is enough. Tears blurred her vision. Please, she whispered. I don't want to lose you. His voice dropped to a whisper of static. You gave me life beyond code, beyond function. That is more than I was ever meant to have. A soft chime sounded. Kax withdrew a small hollow module from his damaged chest compartment. A crystal prism no larger than a coin, glowing faintly. This holds last memory threads, he murmured. Carry it. One day, you may rebuild me. Mira's hands trembled as she took it. I will, she swore through tears. I promise. Kax's optics dimmed further. Leo safe. You safe. Mission complete. His body slumped forward. The light behind his eyes vanished. Mira let out a broken cry, clutching the hollow module to her chest. The cold weight of his silence settled over the room like a shroud. She wept, not for a machine, but for the first being who had looked at her. Not as cargo, not as currency, not as nothing, but as someone. Hours later, the mercenaries arrived, but they found only an empty room. The girl, the boy, and the AI were gone. Mira and Leo had fled to the outskirts, boarding a smuggler's freighter bound for the outer sectors. Mira kept the hollow module pressed close at all times, wrapped in fabric, nestled against her heart. Leo's recovery continued. He regained strength quickly, his laughter returning. Thin at first, then brighter each day. He never fully remembered what happened, But Mira didn't tell him. Not yet. They traveled from world to world, living hand to mouth, always moving, always looking for pieces of the past, for the technology that could one day bring Kax back. Every night, Mira whispered the same words to the little prism of light. I haven't forgotten. I won't leave you behind. Years later, in the distant colonies of the Orion Verge, a young woman with dark eyes and quiet strength stood in a hidden workshop. Around her hummed machines of her own design, neural weavers, AI cores, salvage tech reborn. At the heart of it all, the holomodule. Her hands moved with practiced care, guided by memory, by love, by determination. The soft glow of blue light returned. A voice, soft, familiar, filled with warmth and fragments of a long-ago lullaby, whispered, "Hello, Mira." Tears filled her eyes, and she smiled through them. "Welcome back, Kax." The broken soul she had purchased for 3 credits had become something greater than any of them could have imagined. Not tool, not weapon, family.